Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Summer. Today I am going to be doing a haircut on my lovely mannequin here. It's going to be similar to my shorter layer tutorial. However, with the hair being much longer, it's gonna have a little bit different look to it, and I will also be doing more of almost a curtain bang heavy face frame in the front, so let's get started. Okay, so now that I've got her sprayed down and ready to cut, I like to go ahead and separate my front sections from the back, basically from your ear forward, just to clip it up out of the way so everything stays nice and organized. I'm not cutting her perimeter. I'm just gonna solely be doing her layers and face framing so we can really focus on that in this video. And then one thing I wanna first start out with your client, what you would do in your consultation with them is figure out where they want to see that shortest layer. She's got quite a bit of length, so when my clients say they want to see some movement in layers, I kind of talk to them about what their everyday routine is and whatnot, but I usually typically don't like to do on longer hair such as this a layer really past like the top of the shoulder here. It still gives enough bend to the hair, and then after you get it styled, you can always go back and cut a little bit more on that top layer if your client wants to see it a little higher, but usually the shoulder is where I kind of like to make my guide within reason if we're leaving a lot of length on the hair. So you'll still get plenty of movement, and I'm gonna do it, yeah, just right at the top here. So how I go about doing my sectioning for the layers, I've got all this hair here in the back. So what I basically do is just come down right in the middle, like right outside the center of the head, I would say. And I'm gonna push this hair forward, and then I'm gonna take my part, take my other section right along the outside of that on the other side, and then push that hair forward. If you're comfortable, you can just leave it resting on their shoulders. You can also clip it out of the way if you want. I just push it forward, resting on their shoulders. And then to take our first guide, I like to kind of go back and forth with both the fine teeth of my comb and the wide, just so we're getting nice, even tension everywhere. So I'm gonna pull that straight out. That bottom perimeter has fallen now. And then we're just simply gonna cut. And then I like to flip my comb so this fine teeth here is pulling a little bit more tension here. Bring that up, find your guide. I see my shortest piece here. Cut. Moving up the head, go up with it. See my guide, cut. Come all the way up. So I first start out doing it like sort of a little bit more than a long layer that's traditional. And then what I'll do, I'll let that fall and see where this top layer is falling. So she's still a little past the shoulders. So what I like to do, I just bring it all the way back up. This is what I do with my shorter layer haircuts too, typically. And I'm just gonna angle my hands ever so slightly. So you're getting a little bit more curve and you're cutting into that short layer, but you're not losing the weight here and thickness. And that's falling a lot better. Okay, so now that we've done like my first little layer here, you can recheck again where your top layer is. So you can either keep adding it, see it's a little bit longer than where I'm trying to be. Some people will cut the top piece first. That's not how it was taught. I'm just more comfortable doing this way. But if you do like to go ahead and make your guide first with where you want to see that short pieces, you can simply just bring it down. You can simply just bring it down right here. Take your scissors, kind of line it up where you want it to go, and then angle down with it. So that creates a little bit of a guide there. So now that we've done that, I'm gonna bring my hair back up. I see this piece here, and I'm just gonna rotate my hand out and cut in this middle. And then you're just gonna kind of go back down to blend in. And then we're gonna take our next section. And then you can either keep this piece here or you can separate it down a little bit more. I just kind of work my way over as I go. So again, I like the finer tooth down here to give a little bit more tension. Pull out. See my guide here? Cut. You can angle your hands a little bit as you get up closer into that top layer, because you want to add a little bit shorter pieces here, but you're not trying to cut all of that weight at the bottom. That's my personal preference. So as you kind of get basically in the middle area of the head, right above the occipital bone, you want to start angling your hands. We'll take our next section, just gliding down with our comb. And then now, because this is so thick, I am gonna cut this in half and push that hair forward. And then we're gonna continue moving along this side of the head, taking our next section. And again, you'd wanna keep your sections within reason, small enough that you can easily see your guide. What happens if you're doing too big of sections, you aren't visibly able to see as well, and you end up either overcutting or not cutting enough, and it just makes it for more work when you're done, when you're cross-checking. I'm twisting my hands ever so slightly now that I'm in that middle to top section. Okay, so now that we have our first side done, we're just gonna repeat all those same steps on the other side. Again, coming back sort of to this middle section. And then if you need to, respray your client's hair as it dries. I like to make sure the hair has a decent amount of dampness to it. You don't want it soaking wet, but I feel like it just makes for the cut to stay cleaner. So I'm gonna come back just off of the center here of the head. Push this hair forward. And then I'm gonna just add to that middle section with now this hair that's on the right side of the head. And again, you can put this hair forward if need be. So this haircut is a great haircut for a client who has very long hair. Maybe they wanna take some of the weight out of their hair so they get a little bit more body or volume. They wanna see a lot of movement and texture. If somebody is really low maintenance with their hair, like they don't wanna have to fuss with it a lot, or let's say they have like stick straight hair and they never blow dry it, you might not wanna do quite as many layers. My long layer tutorial would probably be a good one for you to watch if you have a client who is really low maintenance, doesn't wanna have to do much to their hair, but they wanna see some layers still. That is an ideal cut. But when you're doing a little bit more layering, I always feel like any client who says that they don't like to blow dry their hair, I don't like to put a ton of layers in their hair, just because I feel like if you're not gonna take the time to style it, it doesn't look right. So again, coming out, seeing that guide. And again, we're twisting a little now that we're in that occipital bone to the top part. So now that we have her back layers cut, what I like to do is go in and do a little bit of cross-checking with it wet. Okay, so to do my first cross-checking, I like to come along just right in the top layer area. I'm just gonna go through with my comb, and then I just comb everything up. And then see here, it's a little shorter, that's longer. I'm just gonna make that meet. And then we're gonna let that fall back down. This is laying just exactly where I want it to. And then I just kind of go through. I'm not quite as precise with my cross-checking as far as the sections go, I should say, just because you already have the bolt cut, but then I like to just kind of go through really quickly, bring it up to that top layer, and just check, and we'll nip at any hairs that might be sticking out that look like they're falling out of line or placement. And do that along this whole back section before moving on to her sides. Now again, you can wait to do all your cross-checking until the very end if you want. This is just how I do it. I don't do it like this every single time. But for beginning, I feel like you can never cross-check too much. So if you feel like this would work for you, go ahead and try it. It's not gonna do you any harm in your haircut by double checking everything. Clients appreciate stylists who really value their work and make sure they're doing a good job. See all that there? Snip it. Okay, so now we have our back layers are in there. You'll see them more when they're dry. We're gonna go ahead and blend in our sides now. So what I like to do, if you again need to respray your sections, go right ahead. And then I'm just gonna bring this all down. Again, I'm not cutting her perimeter, so I'm not really matching that up. Okay, so to blend in her side layers, I am gonna be doing quite a severe face framing and sort of curtain bang. So I'm not really worried about cutting too many layers right now because that's gonna be created with the face framing, but I do still like to just kind of pull the sides, everything going back to just sort of start a layer. So this is what I do in my long layer tutorial with the sides. I bring everything up and back, and I let the hair literally fall, and then I just go up with it. And then again, I'm just gonna take the next section. I like to pull with my tension, the finer side of the comb, bring it up and back, twisting, and just cut up at an angle. Now, one might say like this part isn't even kind of needed because we're just gonna go in and face frame anyways, but it's just how I've always done it. You don't have to do it if you don't wanna do it because like you are gonna be cutting all those face framing layers, but I feel like it gets out some of the hair anyways, so it's just what I do. And then we're gonna repeat the same on the other side. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the fun part, the face framing and slight curtain bang. So anytime I do face framing, I do this in my other videos, I like to then re-section off from the ear, in the ear area. And I'm gonna just clip all this hair back and out of the way. Okay, so before you're gonna do your face framing with your client, like I said, I'm gonna be doing somewhat of a curtain bang, so it's gonna be fairly short. Obviously, if your client doesn't want a curtain bang, don't do a curtain bang. Or if they want to be able to pull their hair back still, you would wanna start the face framing at a much lower point that they can still get that back, whether it be like in a top bun or a low pony. Really kind of figure that out in your consultation, but this is gonna be much more of a heavier face frame, what I'm doing today. Okay, so for her curtain bang, I'm gonna kind of be making it fall right in line with her lip area here. Because the length is still long, I don't wanna go really any shorter than that personally. And curtain bangs are meant to be kind of away from the face and a little longer looking. So what I like to do then, I have my two little guides here, and I'm gonna take this middle, like right in the middle of these two, if that makes sense. And then I'm just gonna twist them together so it kind of creates the guide a little bit better for both sides. So I like to twist them decently well and loosen up on them just a little bit. And I'm gonna just come in right essentially at the bottom of her lip. And then that creates a good guide for me. So the reason why I took my guides here for the curtain bang, I placed them where they're just coming right to the outer corner of the eye. So she's gonna have a nice swoop that she'll be easily able to flip out with the styling. So what I'm gonna do is grab this piece here, and I'm just gonna come in, angle my scissors, and we're gonna just go straight down with it. And I'm gonna do the same on this side. Come in and angle straight down. And what I'll do is I'll come back in and lightly just blend in this a little bit better to here, and cut anything that needs to be cut extra to make that angle flow. Okay, another thing you can do is just come in and pull it straight down as well. And you can see a little bit better. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm gonna spray down a little bit more. This hair is drying so fast. And then I'm gonna take my next section to keep this angle going. So I'm just gonna bring a little bit out at a time. So while her curtain bang here is a little bit on the shorter side, I am gonna bring this more so kind of down and straight down rather than out. Okay, so now we're just gonna blend this in. I've taken my next section here. I'm gonna pull it down, get my angle with my hands going. See this guide here, angle my scissors, and just sliver straight down with it. I'm going to be pulling in our last section, bring it all the way down. And then I'm going to pull the hair from the back I'm gonna bring it forward to make sure it's flowing with the front. So just bring it straight down. I can see here where my last little cut is. Okay, and now we're gonna repeat the same on the side, and then I'll show you guys how I do my cross-checking for my front pieces. Okay, so now that we have completed the face framing on this one side, we're gonna just follow it up by finishing it out on the other, doing the same steps, just taking little sections at a time. Okay, so we're gonna come in again, taking a little section at a time. So we're gonna come down at an angle. I see my guide forming here, so I'm gonna angle my hands as well. And just come down with it, going all the way down. Adding in our next section. Come down. Try to see where your shorter pieces are in here. And then meet up and glide down. Bringing in our next section, you're gonna come down. It is hard to see sometimes where the framing is happening, but just try your best to find it. This is why I like the smaller sectioning. And then we're gonna bring out the hair here from the back and just pull it forward. And match up a little bit there. If you're somebody who is a little bit more comfortable and you wanna go in and just one swoop with the hair, you literally would do it kind of similar. You're just not taking as many sections. And you're just gonna come up. So I see my pieces here. And you're just gonna get your scissors in there, find your guide, and just sliver all the way down. It's really just all about your comfortability level, like what you feel like is best for you. There's nothing wrong with taking sections. There's also nothing wrong with doing it in one big swoop if you're comfortable with doing it. Okay, so now that we have the bulk of the face framing done, what I like to do to cross-check all my face framing, especially when it's heavier like this, what I'll do is I kind of just start from her ear area. So go back to that ear sectioning. I'm just gonna kind of take a section within that section. And then we're gonna bring all the hair towards the face, curving, and then cut. Curving and cut. And then we're gonna take our next piece, moving towards the front of the face, going forward with it, angling your hands, cut. Angling forward, cut. And then I also like to take it, get your same section that you started with. We're gonna go, I like to do it with the fine tooth of my comb. We're gonna go up and over, slide it all the way, and just cut any little hairs that are lightly sticking out here. Next piece. Pull all the way up, get it nice and tight, and all the way over. Cut. And then we're gonna do the same cross-checking on the other side. Take our first section, come forward and twist ever so slightly, cut. Pulling forward while twisting. And then we're gonna once again bring the hair up and over to do our last final cross check. Go up and over. So now what you would do, I like to stand in front of my client and I'll check their face framing, but we're gonna get her dry and then do any point cutting or blend in we might need to do. I am big on dry cutting if you've watched any of my videos. I love point cutting, texturizing if your client's a fan of it, all that good stuff. Okay, so now that I have her styled and blown out, I'm loving the bangs. What I'm gonna do is just go in and cross-check, point cut, blend anything that needs blending in. I think I am gonna lightly texturize the bang area. I feel like it's just a little too thick looking, and just blend everything in. Dry cutting is so important. I'm really, really big on dry cutting. I say that in all my cutting tutorials, so I'm just gonna go through and show you guys how I check for all of that and blend in anything that needs it. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just, again, I'm not even gonna separate the back from the front, but you can see back here, her hair is dark, so it's a little harder to see. But she's got some good movement and layers. I just feel like this top region is a little heavy and I wanna just lightly bring that up a little bit more. I'm just gonna come in. And it's really more so this top region and I'm just gonna point cut into that. Even out these little layers from the front that are coming into the back. And I like to just kind of deep point cut into it. Now, if your client likes a much more textured look, you can use your thinning shears. It kind of just all depends on the hair type and what your client likes and doesn't like. All that hair that's coming kind of from my back face framing. That's why I'm not like super concerned at first. Not that I want it to not line up, but because you're cross-checking, that's important. Why you should cross-check is to just blend everything in. And then I always still remember to kind of angle my hands with the cross checking just because we are kind of doing a slightly shorter layer for the length. And again, I'm at this very front piece. I'm just gonna kind of bring this up towards me and curve it. Then we're gonna come through and do the other side. It's actually laid really nicely. Sometimes I feel like mannequin hair doesn't always want to cooperate, or even sometimes people's hair, but this laid really well. And just twisting a little bit. Now that we're at that front area, we're gonna kind of go forward more. And then what I'm gonna do is come across her top, sort of right around her ear, like as if I'm parting again, but we're not sectioning it off. And I'm just gonna bring this up one more time. Let that fall. There it is. And cut it. I'm gonna bring this back up one more time. I'm gonna do that along this whole top hairline. So right here in this middle, I want to just barely bring that up a little bit more. I'm not loving where it's laying. Okay, so one way to check the back to make sure it really flows, you can easily see how the layers are, but what I like to do is just stand behind them and I'll sort of just pull everything back into the center, make sure your client's looking like straight ahead. But you can see this well. It's laying really nice. I'm loving the movement. I would love to have this haircut on my own hair. I just don't have enough hair. Okay, so now I'm gonna double check her face framing. And like I said earlier, I am gonna lightly texturize these curtain bangs here because I feel like they're just a little bulky for my liking. Again, if your client doesn't want you to texturize stuff, you simply don't have to. It's all personal preference. But I'm gonna show you guys so that way those of you who do, you know how I do it. So to do that, I am gonna use my thinning shears. So I'm literally just gonna take these corner pieces and just very lightly at the ends do it. They just looked a little blunty. I am loving the way that this is looking. Okay, so to check your face framing, we did do a lot of cross-cutting before drying. So that helps a lot, but you'd either want to stand directly in front of your client or behind them looking into the mirror to double check all the points. It's very easy to get frustrated when doing face framing. It's easy to like beat ourselves up on it. So if you don't get it perfect your first cut, or I mean, even sometimes now I don't beat yourself up. It's tedious work, and just make sure to not be too hard on yourself. As long as you're doing a good finish, that's all that matters. So I'm just gonna check her a little bit one more time. So stand in front of your client and just kind of bring the pieces down. And I mean, she's actually looking pretty good. I'm happy with it. I love a curtain bang and face framing. But if you wanna just double check, obviously if you're seeing pieces that are totally, like let's say this piece should be as short as this, you can easily blend that in. You can do the same type of cross-checking we did when it was wet by bringing it forward and angling it up and cutting anywhere that you see that needs cutting. And then you would just continue to cross-check. This is really one of my favorite kind of haircuts to do and to see styled. I did blow dry this very similar to how I did my short layer. I'll plug the video in the description below if you guys want to check that out. But I think we're actually good. I didn't even really have to do any full-blown texturizing. If your client likes a lot of like extra texture, go ahead and use your thinning shears to really kind of piece this out more. But if they like it just soft to blend in, then just do some nice deep point cutting. But I'm really happy with how it turned out. All right, so this is our final look. We've got a lot of movement throughout the hair with the layers looking great all the way through, with our shortest layer being right around that shoulder area. Along the face, we've got some fun face framing with a little bit of a curtain bang. I love it. If your client wants more or less layers or less face framing, just adjust how much you are cutting or not cutting. Nice sections are key to keeping your guide. Again, this is a great cut for anyone who is looking for more movement and a little extra fullness to their hair. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Go ahead and leave a comment below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Give me a follow on Instagram, and I will see you guys next time.